Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
We are delighted that you've taken some time to come out and share this day with us. My name is Caren Gordon, and my father is he's a great-grandfather of Franklin H. Gordon, correct? A great-grandson, thank you. Yeah, I'm still learning. Here lies, this gentleman is very special and extraordinary in so many ways. And I'm going to take just a few minutes just to share that with you. He was born a slave on a plantation near Southport, and he received his freedom after the Civil War at the age of 9 years old. 9 years old. And to hear his life and the developments of his life, you'll find them very extraordinary. Secondly, he grew up. As you would imagine, those times was very challenging. And so, as a young child, he and many of the other, as they referred to at those days as colored boys and girls, were only schooled 2 to 3 months a year. But during that time, his mother struggled to feed him and his brothers and sisters. So he would go around collecting scrap metal so that he could eat. And so on the good days that he could collect enough scrap metal, his brothers and sisters ate. In fact, it was reported that they would have cakes and cheese. On the lean days when he couldn't find anything, they would eat mulberries. But still, that didn't stop him. And the thing that's really interesting, and the more I read about, because I too, for this presentation, I learned a lot more about him than I ever have. And one of the things I found extraordinary was that this man had such a quest for knowledge that he didn't let anything stop him. And yet, he wasn't selfish in it, but he was always willing to share. And that's what I'm going to speak with you briefly about. His quest for knowledge, he received his education here at a school in Southport that was organized to educate ex-slaves in reading, math, and arithmetic. At 20 years old, he still continued his quest for knowledge. And so he was very diligent in his work. And so it was at that age that he was appointed, or they said drafted, as an educator. So at 20 years old, he became the first black public school teacher in Brunswick County. That he continued. That did not stop him. You would think, someone having achieved just that level, he would stop, but that encouraged him to go on. And so he continued to read and write and study and to make himself a better teacher. That thirst for knowledge continued. And so it was at that time that Franklin wanted to learn about how to calculate fractions, or how to achieve mathematics. And so he would pay a northerner. He heard a northerner had come to Southport, and he paid that northerner 5 cents, and this is how it's reported, 5 cents for every 2 examples until he mastered the fractions.
Wow.
5 cents in those days was a lot to come by at that time. So his teaching began, and he taught for 55 years in Brunswick County. In fact, he retired at the age of 79. So, as a public school teacher, first grade, and as an administrator, he continued to teach. And what has been reported is his style of teaching. He wanted to be sure that the children in his class would master reading and math. In fact, they said that he really was pretty hard on them, but he pressed upon them the importance of learning. And so it was said that he would make sure that not only did they know how to read, but that they knew how to speak correctly and perform mathematical skills. So, as time went on, his quest was to make sure that these children were prepared to go out in society. And later, in a few more minutes, a few more seconds, I'll tell you how he prepared each of those children in his class. It was said that he made sure that each child was able to graduate. All his kids graduated. There were no social promotions and there were no failures. A failure was not an option in his class or in that school. And by the way, that was a one-room school. No failures. And so those children left. They say when they graduated, they left becoming leaders in their rural communities. They left here and became leaders in their rural communities. They also became teachers. Some purchased land and became very productive farmers. And so it is said that his legacy not only reflects his teaching, but it's right here in this particular cemetery. They used to have a special day called May Day. It was for memorial services. And during that time, they would decorate as much as what the committee has done. They would decorate the cemetery. And it was a big time. It was a big event. Educators and people of all walks of life would come. They even hauled a piano in here for the community choir to sing on a mule. But it was a time when speakers from all around the community would come and speak. They sang. They really had a good time during that period. And so it was Frank Gordon that stood out. As you see, they said that he was a great lecturer, a great orator, and that people come for miles just to hear him speak. In fact, it was reported that during that time, he would take the Bible, biblical passages and lessons of the Bible, and interweave them into the history, the local history. And that inspired and encouraged so many during that period of time. So he was gifted. He was gifted as an educator. He was gifted as an orator. He was gifted as a speaker. And so it was at the age of 79, as I said, he retired. But he left a legacy unprecedented to those during that time. And that legacy was that he made sure that his students and the students of that time would go out into the community. He prepared them to do that so that they would become leaders. And so if one would have to summarize his legacy, it would be educator, quest, love of knowledge, someone who really loved to give, but he wanted to improve the lives of black, and we called them colored at that time, black boys and girls and the community. And he was successful. Thank you.